Hey, how are you? So if you're anything like me and have spent way too much time on Instagram inside the art community over the last few weeks, you've probably stumbled upon this 6 fan arts challenge, where artists pick out 6 of their favorite characters and draw or paint them in their own style. And while browsing the whole tag, it kind of made me want to quit art, just seeing these incredibly talented people doing these amazing artworks. It made me kind of insecure about the whole thing, but I also wanted to try it myself. Well, at the beginning I thought, it'll just take 8-9 hours. I'll just sit down one day and at the end of the day I'll be finished. No, it took me 2 weeks. That truly seems like a common trope for me, just vastly underestimating the whole project. So grab yourself a beverage, I'll stop teasing you, and let's jump into the whole thing. For my first character, I went with Princess Mononoke from Studio Ghibli, and she's been a character I've been wanting to draw for a while now, just because it's such an iconic character design. I was pretty late to the whole Ghibli movie thing, and especially Princess Mononoke I think I saw 2 years ago for the first time, but I was instantly mesmerized by these incredibly beautiful handcrafted worlds and these rich and realistic characters, and especially the soundtracks of Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away are just some of my favorite movie soundtracks ever. I've been listening to the soundtrack while drawing the whole thing, and if you haven't listened to it, just go and listen to it. It is so incredibly beautiful. For the painting itself, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It's probably one of my favorite of the whole bunch, and I'm a really big fan of these light streaks, especially through windows in the early morning, or in this case from a tree. And I tried to replicate it a few times in painting, but never really succeeded, and I think I finally did. And I just think it looks really sick with these light sparks on the cheek and the coat, and it gives the whole thing just this little bit more depth. For my second painting, I wanted to switch it up a little bit and not really draw a character, but draw my favorite musician, Bon Iver. Bon Iver? Bon Iver?
Bon Iver. Bon Iver. Bon Iver.
And I mean even just the origin story of the whole band. You've probably heard of it, Justin Vernon going through a bad breakup and locking himself inside a cabin in the middle of the wood and not coming out until he has funneled all his feelings in this amazing album called Emma Forever Ago. And if you haven't listened to it, just go and do that and listen to his whole discography. The way I think music is best represented is with the feeling of a certain moment. So Bon Iver for me is being on a road trip in dense fog in the middle of the woods with just a smell of coffee, and you break through the clouds and see a beautiful sunrise. For the drawing itself, I tried to keep it simple, and though simple, I still had a lot of difficulties with shading the face. But overall, I'm quite happy with how it turned out, and I could finally move on to character 3. After struggling a little bit with Bon Iver, I wanted to turn to one of my favorite character designs ever. Just dwarves in general. And for this character design challenge, I chose the king under the mountain himself, Thorin Oakenshield. I recently rewatched the Hobbit trilogy, and no doubt The Hobbit is way worse than Lord of the Rings. It's still a very entertaining movie, and I simply love the design of the dwarven culture. And after rewatching The Hobbit again, it rekindled my interest for the whole world of J.R. Tolkien. I love world building in general, and I kind of want to try it myself at some point. So for summer I want to pick up the Silmarillion and really dive deep into the whole lore of Lord of the Rings. For the character himself, I wanted to try something more extravagant because I kept it so simple in the last character, but it was really difficult, and especially the crown, which is golden. I tried to render the whole thing, but medals are so difficult. And in the end, I'm actually quite happy with how the medals turned out. I think you can actually kind of tell that it's supposed to be metal. I hope I'm not just crazy. Not so happy with how the hair looks, but that's another story. Just color in general is something I really need to work on. But let's move on to character 4. Character 4, another incredibly iconic character, 11 from Stranger Things. I think needs no introduction. I was kind of disappointed over season 3. I didn't really like how they split up the whole cast and had all these little groups. I think it messed up the chemistry between some of the characters. And although I did like the chemistry of some of the newer cast, I didn't think it was as strong as the first 2 seasons. Though I'm really excited for season 4 to come out. For the character, I finally wanted to try something new with lighting, just because the first drawing came out so good, and I was kind of disappointed that I couldn't really do anything with the last 2 characters. So what else fits better with the 80s than neon lights? And I've gotta say, I really love how this one turned out, and it really wasn't that difficult to do. Just another layer on half opacity with blue and red colors on both sides of the face, and according to face geometry, just shade it as you usually do with 2 sides of lighting. And I definitely want to try that in more paintings in the future. Especially for this character, I was kind of struggling with coming up with an idea of what to do. But then I remembered the book series I read, I think last year or the year before that, Mortal Engines, and I actually found the book a little bit before the movie came out, just by browsing the bookstore and seeing this amazing cover art by Ian McKee, who is now one of my favorite artists. And the books are absolutely amazing. I think the movie flopped kind of, and there's not going to be a second part, but the books are definitely worth reading. For the character, I chose Hester Shaw, who is one of the main characters of the story and has, again, just such an amazing character design. Especially in the movies, I thought it looked amazing. Though in the movie they kind of downplayed her scar, which in the book was like a really big deal, and in the movie barely noticeable, which is kind of the whole Hollywood stick with beautiful actress. We can't make her too ugly because no one's gonna see the movie. Which I don't really understand because it's such an integral part of the book, but can't really change it now. Overall, for the drawing, I can't really say too much other than I really like these character designs that give you the opportunity to play with the character's geometry or just with the character parts. For example, the hair and the scarf blowing in the wind, or clothing being affected, which I really like to play with. With the hair, again, it's something I need to work on, but overall I'm quite happy with how it looks. So let's move on to the last character, Max Caulfield from Life is Strange. I absolutely love fall. It's by far my favorite season, and Life is Strange for me is just the epitome of what fall feels like. From the incredibly beautiful environments you explore, to the characters you get to know, to the soundtrack, which I've been listening to pretty much since the game came out, and which still includes some of my favorite songs ever. It is just the epitome of what I think fall is supposed to feel like. Warm, genuine, and beautiful, and calm. That said, the painting of Max is pretty much the most frustrating thing I drew, I think, ever. Although I added in a butterfly at the end because I think it was kind of lacking something, and to be honest, in the end I'm just glad to be done because it took way too long to do the whole thing. After that I just added in some backgrounds and this is it. I'm really happy with how it looks. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And then stay safe and I'll see you next time.